you well.
Thank you. So we just feel honored to have you here with us. This is a bio sent to me about her. Professional athlete Francesca Clapcich is one of the world's most versatile sailors. She has twice represented Italy at both the London and Rio Olympic Games in the laser and 49er FX classes. She was the first Italian woman to compete in the, I'm not going to be able to say this, Solitaire du Figaro,
Yes.
and has raced around the world twice in the ocean race, becoming the first Italian to win the notoriously challenging race in the 2022-23 edition. She is the very first female skipper to compete in the Ocean 50 series, leading the all-female team upwind by mere concept. Sorry, this keeps changing. And she will compete in the Puig Women's America's Cup for American Magic in October. Oh wait, that was last year.
Yeah.
I got to the date. She did. She already did. Her next big goal is to compete in the 2028 Vendée Globe. And non-stop around the planet. I knew they would all get so excited about that. Anyways, she lives here in Park City. How cool is that? She was so gracious to respond to just me emailing randomly, hey, welcome to our awesome sailing group here. So we're so happy to have her here and her wife and her daughter. We're just thrilled to have them with us. Looks like we're just, total PA freedom, that's the right one. I made a big error in some of our...
Bluetooth connecting.
There we go. Anyways, I will let you take over, if you want to say anything before.
Sure. No, first of all, thank you for having me. Utah is not the most ocean place in the U.S., but it's been so far pretty special to know that there are a pretty big community, sailing community around here. And a few months ago during the winter, up in Park City, we did an event with Park City Sailing, and now being here, it's been pretty special to know this different part of the community in the U.S. And so you will see a short film that has been produced in collaboration with 11 Hour Racing. That is my sponsor. It's called Between Waves. It's a bit of a story about my career, about the why I really want to do this campaign. It's a bit of a few moments in life that has been really changing moments in my personal life, but then has been changing moment in my sport career. And then the connection between the ocean and the mountains, and I think it's something that really connects us all in this room. We all live with these incredible mountains behind our back, and at the same time we love being in the water, we love the ocean. And the two things are way more connected than what we thought. So it's really short, just 12 minutes, and then I'm happy to just share with you what happened next after this film that's been produced just a year ago.
All right, we have...
Nothing is written down on the water. There's not a field. It's not a swimming pool. It's you take your boat and potentially you can just go around the world without stopping. This is cool, because you get that mix of performance, adventure, risk. I love that part of the sport. we were spending most of the summer on the boat, and we were just living on the boat, even if it was just on the dock. And that was my first contact with the sport. My dad was absolutely like probably the biggest ally that I had in life. He never put a limit because girls has to play with dolls and boys plays with trucks. And I never been put in that situation where I had to like force myself to be someone else. So when he got sick, he got leukemia. And unfortunately, something bad happened, meaning that he was not able to fight the cancer. So he died, and that was tough. That was a tough moment. I had all my family around, and the only thing I wanted was just everybody goes away. Like, I don't need this. No one will bring that person back. And then I got into sailing. It was not really because my dad was so into boats or he had this like dream to see me as a sailor. It was my way to deal with that grief. The sport gave me also that freedom and that way for me to have time for myself and time to just focus on something. I really want to get better at it because I really want to get into the best events in the world. Like I want to be sailing at a world championship. I want to be sailing at the Olympics. I want to like represent my country in the best events in the sport. And I was not the most talented, and I know that, and I always like admit it, but I worked so hard for it, like so hard. And I always had that in every single sport that I did. Losing makes you stronger if you're able to understand why you lose and how to get better from it. There is a lot of work, there is a lot of like scheduling and trying to put all the pieces together and make sure that you match with your life. And I found that being of the success and also the reason why at 36 I'm still at the pinnacle of the sport and doing it and keep learning and keep craving new challenges. The journey is the best part of all of this. Of course, all the Olympic sailing and being at the Olympics is probably every athlete dream, but at the same time it's really hard to think about like a pathway for, especially the future. I end up, having a lot of that thoughts at the end of the Olympics in Rio and thinking what could be another great path moving forward. Then offshore sailing was the most clear path that I saw in front of me, and big offshore racing is like really, really long distance, a lot of days on the water. Offshore sailing is like kind of an extreme camping in the ocean. You're on, no matter if you're off watch or on watch, you're still on the boat with everybody there, sleeping, living close together, doing everything together. We're so small when we're in the ocean. We're nothing. We are nothing compared to the environment around us. And still we go out there and we challenge it. And it's the same in the mountain. I feel the same joy and happiness when I'm on the mountains or I'm on the ocean. The waves, the wind, just the brutal environment, and knowing that you're just a little tiny nothing, it's kind of the same feeling that I have when I'm like on the mountains. I get the question about, is home Italy or is home Park City? home really feels now where my wife and my daughter are. Oh, this was a good party. And I bet you remember too. Do you remember that New Year's? No. No New Year. This was in Brazil when we went in that like.
Oh, the like bar on the beach.
Yes. That was pretty good. Look at this. What is this? Harriet has endless opportunity to do so many different things outside, and I think that's the best we can do as a parent, is just give her as many opportunities as possible to find her way. I hope she will just find different opportunities that will be equal. I really hope that she can just get in that room and sit on the table and look around and feel like I belong. Cool.
I know.
The best feeling that you can have when you're part of a team is that you feel you belong. It feels like you're absolutely safe because everybody feels that they can bring their true self with all our differences. I really believe that diversity is a strong tool. I still feel sometimes quite lonely being, a woman in the sport. And I can't even imagine being in someone else's shoes that have even less privilege. After the last race, I felt like, wow, I have a voice. I want to use this voice. The sailing industry seems to still be stuck a little bit in the past, and we got to the point that it's not good enough anymore, and it's not enough for not only women in the sport, it's not enough for a lot of minorities. There is just a massive disconnection between people and outward, and that disconnection creates also other issues. If I don't feel loved, why should I love something? If I don't feel that the sailing community, the maritime industry love me, why should I love the ocean and respect it and not trashing it? It's the same with the mountain. Their relationship with 11-hour racing was really born with the idea to how can we do more with the sport that we love, right? If we are saying that we believe that women has to get paid properly for the work they're doing, then we need to pay them. We can't just go out and be like, oh, we believe in that, and then there is free internship. That's the cool thing about the partnership, is that we got to the point where we were both like, okay, yes, we want to do that. We were not selling a product. We were sending a message. This is a solution. Can we all please buy into this solution and work together as a team and change the world?
happened more or less a year ago. So since that time, we launched our new campaign, our new project that is called Believe, Belong, Achieve, with the objective to have a social justice campaign alongside our sailing campaign. The real meaning behind it is that the industry is still quite a closed space, and often, especially for young generation, the youth, it's really hard to get into teams and feel that they have a voice, that they get respected, that their opinions do matters, and I think that has to change, especially to try to perform at the highest level. And that's the point about our campaign, is to really drive that change in the industry through advocacy. For sure, we want to spread the voice and get more allies on board with that ideas. Through education, we're going to run workshops, we're going to do a research about belonging in sports and how belonging really enhances performance. And that's super valuable, not only in sport, but also in company, businesses, school environment, communities environment. And we're going to run that through our entire campaign. And at the same time, it's not officially launched yet, but it's going to happen in a few days. We're going to launch our performance campaign with the goal of the Vendée Globe in 2028. So we purchased an IMOCA 60, that is the boat that you saw with the 11-hour racing branding in the film. And we're going to start racing at the end of the year with the first transatlantic race that goes from France to Martinique. And then we're going to go into the full IMOCA campaign from next year, racing the entire season until the start of the Vendée Globe in 2028. So that's kind of the exciting part. Not out there yet, but it's something that I'm really proud about, and as a team we're really, really proud about. I'm not sure if everybody knows about the race, what the Vendée Globe is, but so the Vendée Globe is the race around the world, solo, non-stop, without assistance. So we started in a small little town in France called Les Sables d'Olonne. For most of the humanity on this planet, that name means nothing, but for whoever is trying to achieve the goal, it means a lot. It's a really special channel that brings you out in the ocean, and one boat at a time slowly go out of the channel and get to the starting line for the race. And for every skipper that aimed to do that race and to be on the starting line, it's a pretty special place. At the same time, they're non-stop, so I did the ocean race twice. The ocean race is also a race around the world, but you do stopovers. So you kind of split your lap around the planet in few chunks. The Vendée Globe doesn't have any stop. So you start in the Southern Dawn, you go around the world, so you go south in the Atlantic, leave Cape of Good Hope, south of South Africa, on port, keep sailing, leave Australia to port, keep sailing, go around Cape Horn, that is the southest point in South America, and then you go back up in the North Atlantic, getting back to the Sables d'Olonne, more or less, a little bit more than 2 months later. So this last edition, the winner of the race just broke the record by more than 10 days. So the previous record was 74 days, and he finished the race in 64 days. Pretty crazy. But at the same time, you go back home quicker, so that's a good way to do it. The boat that we purchased is a quite high performance boat, so it's not going to be a new build. We purchased a boat that just went around the world, that is a full foiling, pretty quick design. The best performance they show really the best performance in really heavy weather, and that's where the decision came to buy a boat that was reliable, slightly easier to sail in hardest condition. And for me, that, you know, it's my first experience, so if I can like get something a bit easier, especially from the boat, that would be probably a big advantage at the end of the race. Fun facts about the race, I mean, there are a lot of them in the last few years, but the last edition so far has been one of the most reliable, I would say. Like the level of the teams, the level of the technical team, the people that prepare the boats is getting so high that, you know, out of the 40 boats that start the race, 35 finish it. So it's a really big number compared to like the average of the past editions. And that's, you know, and the one that didn't finish, sure, they had pretty major issues, like dismasted or, you know, had a structural issue to the boat, but all of them brought the boat back to shore. So no one had to, you know, abandon boats, and that really showed the incredible level that both skippers and the teams behind the skippers are getting in this racing. So it's quite special. For whoever doesn't know 11-hour racing, just they are my main sponsor. They are the title sponsor of the campaign and also like the title sponsor for the boat. They are an organization based in Newport, Rhode Island, that is really focusing on sustainability. The past campaign was absolutely focused on ocean health, and now they are expanding their work, adding the social justice part in the sustainability side. What we saw is that, like in the past year, there was a lot of focus on the ocean or the plastic in the ocean or a lot of like environmental issues, but we never really took in consideration the people that get affected by these issues and also the people that can really help find a solution for it. The ocean has, for sure, some issues, but we need to think about the maritime communities that are close to these oceans and what can we do to help that community to thrive with an ocean that has quite a lot of issues. So the goal is really to work for people and planet and see it as a unit. We can't just try to save the planet if we don't work with all the people that are affected by climate issues, and that's really the objective for the next few years from the organization, is to really expand that work and get more communities involved and working really together. So that I'm really excited to work with, you know. So it's great to have a sponsor no matter what, but I feel it's really good to have a sponsor that is not really selling a product or is, you know, trying to sell something. It's really just working together to find like solution to get better, and I feel it's just a really special collaboration. So I'm really open to like any questions or like any curiosity. That I think it would be nice to just really keep it as a conversation, I would say, more than try. I'm not preaching anything, so at all.
Okay, so suppose you're down in the Southern Ocean, huge waves, fierce winds, you're single-handing.
Yes.
So, you know, your nightmare is that the jib's going to get stuck in a way that you have to get up there on the bow, and you're all by yourself. So 2 questions: what do you do to avoid that happening? And are there things that you do, especially precautions, so you go up on the bow into those conditions?
Yeah, I mean, trying to avoid the situation is probably the first really big step of it. And with the technology that we have now on board, we can really understand the forecast and what the next weather pattern will be. Like it's extremely uncommon to just end up in a storm. Like it will not happen most of the time. So you have the time to prepare for it. And you know, the Southern Ocean lately has been, I would say, a bit of a hit or miss. There's been really light wind and quite calm conditions that are really uncommon for that part of the world. But, of course, then you get into some pretty big low pressure that brings you 60 knots and 7 meters of waves. So for sure there's this big, range of conditions, but you have time to prepare it. So in the moments that okay, in 6 hours the weather will change, I have the time to get the boat ready, get all the weight back, change the sails, and we slow down the boat all the time. Even in the crew configuration, when we did the ocean race and we were 4 sailors on board, we were still bearing away, slowing down the boat, going to the bow, change the sails, get back inside and get it going again and get the boat ripping again. Because, the boats right now is going, 30 knots. And when you get out there in big waves in the middle of the ocean at that speed, it's pretty dangerous. And even if we wear life jackets, we are always hooked, but at the same time, you don't want to go out there with that speed and with the risk that the boat is like plowing the waves, and it's really unstable. So we slow down the boat all the time to get on the bow and make it pretty safe. Yeah.
What's it like foiling by yourself? It feels like when you see it, they're like ice skaters on one foot almost, trying to balance forward. How does that go?
Yeah. So the Mocha 60s are not full foiling boats, so we are still like semi-foiling, I would say. We don't have elevators on the rudders, so the rudders doesn't create any lift. So the only part of the boat that creates lift is the 2 foils. So the stern of the boat is kind of always like skimming a bit on the water. What the foils are doing on these boats is really keeping the bow really high, and pretty much especially with the big foils, in the last edition the foils were less powerful, they were shorter, they had less surface, so we're creating less lift. But with the new one, they are really, really big, so the power that they put into the boat is pretty big. And you can get the boat out of the water almost up to the rudders. You see the footage, we are literally you can see the keel most of the time because it's so much lift on the boat. And that part is amazing because you're able to keep the bow quite high, so you get through the waves a bit better. But at the same time, it's pretty violent when you hit waves or the boat stop. You go from 30 knots to 15, and it's a big hit, and then it's a full rebuild for the boat to accelerate again. So there are some conditions where we kind of slow down the boat. We're not using the full potential of the boat because it's gonna be too much pressure on the structurals on the foil. You risk to break the boat. So there's a big balance. In flat water, even strong wind, we go full potential, full extension in the foils, maximum lift. The boat is just ripping. As soon we get big waves, we need to reduce the amount of lift to get the boat a bit more into the water.
How come the French keep dominating that?
We need to stop them. We go for the French. It's the culture. It is really, it's incredible to see when you are in France how much the entire community understand the sport. The skippers in France are almost these mythological figures that, there is a skipper walking, I need a selfie, and it's I don't know, it's a bit like an NBA player here. And they get a lot of funding, they get the structure behind, they start pretty early, they start from the mini that are 6.5 meters boat, they go into 40 footers, into the Mocha, they have a full pathway to get where they get. And that's the biggest advantage. And the place, I mean, you can't change it, right? Like Brittany is pretty miserable most of the time. I mean, let's be real. I mean, like, we spend some time there, it's mostly raining and it's super windy. But you go sailing and in a couple of minutes, you're just in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean with, really tough conditions. So like, you go for it. Where, another part, I grew up in Italy in the Mediterranean Sea in a really like small spot in the Adriatic Sea. I mean, I never saw waves for, like 10 years of my life. Like there are no waves, And then when you see that the first time, you're like, oh my God. And they just have that in their backyard. And it's a lot of advantage on that. And yeah, I think it's the entire system that works because they are so used to that offshore racing. We're gonna get there. There are some non-French that are putting their nose out and they're getting pretty pissed about it, so that's nice. It's good to see. Yeah.
When you were starting out as your, like pursuing sailing this sport that you wanted to do on a world scale,
Yeah.
did you always have this end goal of racing around the world with a team, with yourself? Was that always the end goal, or has it been an evolution?
Not really. I think it's been really an evolution. I'm really curious. So like I started with dinghies as most of youth racing, and then I went into the Olympic sailing, and you learn a lot. Like all the fundamentals, everything that I know about sailing, it really came from dinghy racing, like around the buoys, and it's really tight, competitive. Like the level is so high. And then after the Olympics, I really got this, it was more like almost a challenge, like I want to do this, and it's complicated to get into a team, and I don't have experience, so for sure, like, it's not that someone would just call me like, hey, do you want to race with us around the world? Like, who are you? You've never done it, like, you have no experience. So I really took it more like a, I'm gonna do it kind of thing, like, and I went for a tryout, and it was a full process of like trying to make it in the team. And when I did it, I was, like, oh, it's gonna be really cool, And the first race around the world, we raced with a 65-footer, so it was a different boat than the Mocha. We were 10 people on board, so it was a big team, and it's completely different dynamics. But I learned a lot, and it was, the first time that I crossed the Atlantic Ocean, and it was the first time I crossed the equator, the first time I went around Cape Horn, and it was just like, everything was like a first time. And then since that experience, that is a bit love and hate at the same time. Like I had a moment in the middle of the race where I'm never gonna do this anymore. Like, this is terrible, and you're like freezing cold, soaking wet, the water has, few degrees, there is snow, like what are we doing down here? And then you get to the Brazil, and it's warm, it's nice, and then a few months later you just forgot how bad it is, and you want to do it again. But it is an evolution, and now with these new boats, you kind of need to relearn completely how to race around the world, because with the 65 we were just like, pushing and squeezing the boat like as much as we could, like the boat was almost indestructible. And now these new boats are performing way better, but I mean you can destroy it if you're not paying attention. So it's a completely different learning on how to manage the boat, and so many other experiences in between. Like last year I did the Women's America's Cup on a full foiling boat, and you learn so much how to, just manage this crazy machine that goes around doing more than 40 knots. And it's always the learning, I think, that has really pushed me to do more. And lately with the new campaign, it's more than just sailing, right? So like, it's a full business behind, and that business side of it, I found it really interesting too, how to like manage team members, you know, contractors, employees, how to make people working together properly, how to like get a good planning. I think that's the really interesting part of the industry is that it is so much that every time you just find what's next, you know. Growing up, my biggest dream was to go to the Olympics. That's it. Like I just dream about the Olympics all the time. And then it's funny how when you get there and then you finish the chapter, you're like, oh, okay, that was great, that's amazing, but there's such a massive board out there that it's just there to be taken, you know.
I don't know how many years ago, but in the Bondi Globe, there was like 7 boats went down.
Yeah.
And, you know, last year, or the last time, 2000, there was one boat that literally snapped in half and went down within 3 minutes. And last year, or the last run, was, all I know of is one boat that was dismast. And do you think that's the carbon fiber? I mean, it just seems like the boats are getting better. Is that the reason, or is it engineering? And then my next question is, how did you find your squad? Did they find you, or did you find them?
We found each other,
There
like
you
a
go.
good story. No, I mean, about the boats, for sure the materials are better. And it's not really about the material. I mean, the carbon fiber is the same carbon fiber that they used in the last, you know, few editions and years ago. It's more like the time that the boat sometimes spend in the mold, the time that the material is spending like curing. The longer that time, the more like, the better the structure of the boat becomes. And I think teams overall are not being like rushing that process. Like years ago, you know, there were some teams that were putting the boat in construction and they were literally in the water a few months later, and you're like, that's quite tough, you know? And the preparation of the boat is also like definitely a different level. Like the tech teams that are working behind the skippers are like looking at every single detail, and any time that they see something that is not great in the, you know, we NDT the boat, that is like is basically testing the entire boat for the fibers. So making sure it's a non-invasive procedure, so you don't need to break the fibers, but you go through the boat and you test it and make sure that everything sounds perfectly. And as soon they feel and see something that is not perfect in the fibers, they go straight into even a pre-repair. So it gets fixed before there is an actual structural issue. The mast, I mean, they are one design, so there's not a lot that you can do in the build because they are just getting built by one company, and it's, you know, that's it. But what you can absolutely check is, again, the structure and making sure that there are no cracks in the carbon, that the rigging is perfect. I think that level is just gone here compared to like years ago, where you know, teams were they were still like the day before the start, you know, like with boxes going back and forth in the dock and getting stuff done. Like this edition, you're going down to the dock 1 week before, and the technical team were having beers up at the bar because the boat was completely ready. You know, that's a different level of preparation. And if you don't reach that level, you get in trouble. And yeah, the sponsor, I mean, it was a bit of a joke. We found each other, but it started with discussion after the last ocean race. They were the sponsor of the 11-hour racing team, and they definitely wanted to like keep going with new project, with a new vision for their organization too. They wanted to add more than like ocean health, and I shared with them that I have this dream to do the Bondi Globe, and they were like, okay, well, you didn't tell us before. Like, well, you didn't ask. and you know, we kind of get into like good negotiation, and they really believed in me straight away, and we did an agreement for 2 seasons, 24, 25, with the intention to potentially extend it for the Vande, and they've been happy so far, I guess, because they're happy to extend it, so it's been a really great relationship so far.
Do you have to qualify for that race?
Yes, there are 18 events from this year until the start of the Globe that gives you points. It's a mix between, so each event, depending on like the mileage, the difficulty, gives you a grade. So it's like 1, 2, and 3, and that's a coefficient that then